What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down 5 things that every wide receiver should know how to do. So these 5 things are going to help you guys improve your route running, your press releases, and just your overall ability as a wide receiver. So I hope this video helps you guys out, but also you guys, if you're a wide receiver and you want to know the specific drills you should be doing on a day-to-day basis to improve your route running, your press releases, check out that very first link in the description below for our 28-day on-field wide receiver workout plan. It's a 4-week daily schedule. We give you over 100 plus drills compiled into that 1-month daily schedule. We give you the exact sets, reps, and rest periods and rest days to do. So check out that very first link below if this sounds like something that's interesting to you. Let's get started with this video. So now, first things first. First thing every wide receiver should know how to do is break without having any indicators. So what is an indicator? An indicator is going to be a change in your speed, a change in your stride, and a change in your pad level. So what do I mean by that? So coming up into a break, where should a DB be watching? Where are his eyes? His eyes are going to be watching your hips. That's where his eyes should be. That's where a disciplined DB is going to be. He's not going to be looking at your eyes. He's going to be watching your hips because he thinks that the hips are what's going to tell him the most about the route. The hips don't lie, right? Now, another thing that he's going to try to do, whether he's in zone, off man coverage, is reading your speed. So if you guys can maintain your speed, not give any indicators with your pad level, like raising up before the break, you will be able to get more separation. So whether that's a route like this, where you are dropping your hips into a break like a stop route, whether that's a route like a post, an out route, whatever it is, it all remains the same. So when you guys come off the ball, think of it like this. Your pad level, like what I tell my wide receivers, is think of it like you're pulling a sled. Like you have one of those speed, like resistance sleds attached to you where you're pulling it. When you're pulling that sled, do you run with your chest up in the air? No, because you'll never go anywhere, right? You have like a good forward lean with your pad level. That's what we want to try to do. Because if you get that forward lean with your pad level, you're not giving that DB any indication of when that break is coming. We keep the same pad level, and the hip drop or the suddenness of the cut, as if it was a break like a post, is what gets you out of the route. Now, I talked about a couple other things, speed and stride length. Those are also 2 indicators that you can give on a break. So a lot of wide receivers, because they're not really comfortable or confident in their hip drop, their speed cut, their single leg cut, is that they will slow their speed down. Now, again, there are times on routes where maybe you do want to change tempo. Like let's say you come off the ball, you take an outside release, you slow the tempo, then you burst up vertical. But if you're running a route like a hitch, like a stop route, a dig route, whatever it is, you have to make sure that we have speed going into the break, because the whole goal is to get this DB to think what? You're running a fade. When it comes down to indicators on a route, it's all about telling this DB that you're running a fade. I want him to think I'm a fade until it's not a fade. So when you guys slow down, that gives an indicator. Guys will slow down because it's easier to make a break when you're not running full speed, but that won't get you as much separation. So make sure that we have speed. Now, like I said, DB's eyes are going to be on your hips, but he's also reading your speed, especially as the game gets further along. So your first quarter, second quarter, maybe he doesn't have a read, but third, fourth quarter, he's playing you man coverage. He's starting to get a feel for your speed. So before this break point, what a lot of guys will do is they'll get about 2 yards away, and instead of running in full stride like Kyle Phillips does right here, being able to break in full stride, they will start to shorten their stride. They take all these choppy steps. Now, again, maybe that's great for us to do when we want to do a double move, but when you're running a route like a hitch route, you can't chop your steps right before the break point, as that's an indicator. That slows you down, and when we slow down, the DB slows down. So the first thing every wide receiver needs to get rid of is indicators on their route. This is a great example of no indicators here from Kyle Phillips, selling vertical and using his hip drop to get him out of the break. All right, so the second thing, this is something that we don't talk a whole lot about on this page, and that's why I wanted to include it, is running after the catch. All wide receivers, if you want to be successful, you have to be able to make plays after the catch. That is what college coaches look for on film. That is what maybe a high school coach wants to see out of a guy who's new to his team, which I know a lot of you are. So let's watch thing full speed here from Kyle Phillips. We're going to be talking about some cuts that you guys can make and how you guys can make DBs miss. Now, before I discuss the details, fellas, it comes down to making big plays if you want to play at the next level, right? Like if I'm a receiver coach and let's say I'm in college and I'm looking for a guy, I'm looking for a recruit coming out of whatever state. I don't care where it is. I just want that guy. I'm looking for guys who can make big plays. And big plays are shown on your highlight tape. At the end of the day, nobody cares what you do in 7-on-7, what you do in camps. Nobody cares. Yeah, camps can help you stand out. I get that. But you have to showcase big plays on your highlight tape. And big plays are turning catches like a 5-yard hitch into an 80-yard touchdown. And how you do that is by making guys miss with the ball in your hands, yards after the catch. So when you guys make cuts like that, you want to think of it like cuts at the top of the break. You're selling with your upper half. Your lower half has to stay in an explosive position. So if I'm teaching a kid how to cut like on a post route, it would be the same thing as how you guys can cut in open space. It's not necessarily like a skill that is taught. It's the same thing as route running. In my opinion, I just think it's a little bit more free way to do it. You're kind of freestyling out there, but you have to be efficient. Because nothing changes. This DB is still supposed to be watching where? Hips. That's where discipline is. He's not going to have his eyes high. He's not going to be looking at your eyes. He's not going to be looking at your feet. He's going to be reading that body language. So when you guys throw a cut, if you guys can focus on selling with the hips and shoulders in the direction we want to go, that's going to get you space. So let's say I'm running like, again, down the left side of the field. I got to put the brakes on with my left foot to cut back to the middle of the field. Now, the upper half moving is what's going to get this DB to bite, but a lot of guys will do this, and they over-exaggerate the cut. They'll reach on the cut, and what they'll do is this toe, instead of being pointed straight forward, it will open up. Now, I know some of you might think, oh, well, that's a little bit too technical. What are you talking about? But at the end of the day, you got to make a cut. You have to go, after this cut, where do you want to end up? You want to end up here, right? You want to end up field. So if you cut, but this toe is pointed towards the sideline, where do you think your hips are going to end up pointing? Towards the sideline. Now, you might be selling it. You might get the DB to bite, but you're not going to get out of the break fast. We have to be able to sell with the upper half, stay in an explosive spot with the lower half. Just like how you would cut at the top of a post, top of a corner. You want to cut, set yourself up in a position to where you could drive, but also sell the movement. So guys, second thing that guys need to be able to do to be a successful wide receiver is make plays after the catch, yards after the catch, and make people miss. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great, another great example of Kyle Phillips making a guy miss in space and then getting back upfield. So now, third thing that I feel wide receivers need to understand and need to be able to do is close space off the line versus a DB who is giving them space and is a little bit more patient. So Phillips is running a slant route here. So he's going to be in this DB's inside shade about like maybe a yard off, I'd say, because he's off the ball. So if this wide receiver, what do we normally teach? Okay, he's inside shade. I got to run a slant. What do you think you want to do? The guys who are familiar with this page should know this. Guys who are maybe new to the page may not know this. You would want to attack the outside shoulder for 3 hard steps. You'd want to go right, left, right. They call it a diamond release. But since there's a gap between the two of them, what Phillips does, and this is a very advanced thing that all wide receivers should do, but it's easy to understand, is he closes the cushion with the DB. He attacks the DB. He makes it to where when he runs up vertical, he is hip to hip with him. So that's what he does. They call it closing the cushion, closing the space. He attacks his leverage. Because if he comes off the line, can you see how he attacks the leverage? That's his first step. And now we miss the second step because this guy gets in the way, but then he plants off of the third. That's the third step that he plants off. He does that diamond release. That makes it, by him attacking the leverage of the DB, that makes it a much tighter angle. And it's a harder change of direction for the DB. What a lot of wide receivers will do is right off the line against this look, they won't attack the guy's cushion. They won't close the space. They'll just run to the outside. But when you leave a big gap between the two of you and you just take off and run, you still have to get here on the slant. And that allows the DB an easier angle to make a play on this ball. So we have to make him uncomfortable. Now, Phillips doesn't get the most separation in the world here, and I think that's honestly just maybe because he didn't sell to the outside enough. He didn't have long enough strides. He had a little bit of an indicator, like we talked about in the very beginning. But again, it's all relative, fellas. Those little details, those little things are not little. Those little things matter, especially when you're going up against a patient DB. So third thing you have to do to be a successful wide receiver is off the line. When that DB is giving you a cushion, you have to close the cushion. I don't care if you're running a 15-yard comeback. You should still close the cushion. You would want to attack him just like Phillips does, and we push up hip to hip vertical. Doesn't have to always be a slant, but we are always attacking the cushion against press. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Phillips setting up this DB with this diamond and then being able to win on that slant. All right, so now, fourth thing that you have to be able to do is you got to have strong hands to play wide receiver, especially to play wide receiver at the next level and have some success. So this is a clip from George Pickens from the Steelers. And now this ball is thrown, it's like a comeback route, and he's able to make this great catch over the top. Now, I include this, we could talk about hands all day, right? We could talk about, a hand-eye coordination. You got to keep your eye on the ball. You got to think of a phrase like you want to look at the ball and see it hit your hands. I've heard a lot of people say, pretend your eyes are a camera. You want to take a picture of the ball. I say, like whenever I throw with receivers and it's routes versus air, they'll be catching the ball and I tell them to verbally call out if they see the laces or no laces. So it forces them to look it in. We could talk about that all day. But the reason why I include this and something that wide receivers need to do is have strong hands, make these tough catches, because again, this is how you stand out on film. If you're that guy who's maybe not the biggest guy in the world, not the fastest guy in the world, you don't pass that like eye test, if you will. As a receiver coach, I'm looking for something that you bring to the table that other guys can't do. And if you catch every single ball that is thrown your way, guarantee you will find you a spot. Like, think about that. Think about that legitimately, right? You could have a guy who runs a 4.3 40-yard dash, but he's inconsistent. We throw him the ball, maybe he catches 8, drops 2. We have a guy who runs like a 4.7 40, but I don't care where you put the ball. You could throw it low, you could throw it high, anywhere. He will catch the ball. We're probably going to like that guy because we know we can rely on him. I'm not saying that we wouldn't take the 4.3 guy, but I'm just saying it puts you in the conversation with those freak athlete wide receivers if you catch everything thrown your way. Do not neglect the catching work. We talk a lot about route running, making big plays with our feet, all that, but you have to be able to catch the ball if you want to be a successful receiver. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by George Pickens here, making this great catch and making that play. All right, so last thing I want to talk about, the fifth thing that wide receivers need to understand is pad level on your release. So we get a lot of questions about physical DBs. Coach, how do I beat a physical DB? And a lot of the times, the answer is, and when you see, because you see the videos, they're heavily publicized. The DB will jam the wide receiver all the way to the sideline, and usually it's one-on-ones, which is completely unrealistic, and, everybody goes crazy. They got the videos posted everywhere. A lot of times that's not realistic football, but more often than not, it's a mistake that the wide receiver makes with his pad level. So we have to keep a good pad level versus press. So I'm going to play this full speed. So this is Jarvis Landry getting a little bit worked off the line here, getting squeezed to the sideline, not a ton of space for that QB to throw. So when he came off the line, his goal was to close the cushion, right? Same thing we were talking about in that release from Kyle Phillips. Now, he closes the cushion, but when he does, that chest pops straight up in the air. So when he closes the cushion and his chest pops up and he's doing this kind of hesitation move and a DB does shoot hands like this, we are completely off balance. Now, how he could have done maybe a little bit better on this and how a lot of wide receivers could do better on this. And Landry's usually a very, very good route runner. And again, not the fastest guy in the world like we were talking about, but he makes up for it with the details. When he comes off the line, maybe if he attacks him and he stays a little bit lower, like in this position right here where he's at right now, keeps that forward lean with his pad level, keeps a good base. This DB gets hands, maybe it doesn't affect him that much. Maybe it doesn't knock him off the platform that much because he's in a more balanced position. So fellas, whether he's right up in your face or whether he is off like this and you have to close the cushion, we cannot raise up. We cannot expose that number, if you will, because that is what will cause a jam. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. So fellas, fifth thing that every wide receiver needs to do is when you're going up against a DB who likes to be physical, keep a good pad level position so we have balance. If somebody pushes you over and you're standing straight up in the air, you're going to fall. If somebody pushes you over but you have a good forward lean, good base, it's a lot harder to make you fall. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. Always great to hear from you guys. And again, if you'd like a 4-week daily wide receiver on-field workout schedule, check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.